finals, and that'll be tomorrow. And I guess it depends on if Pegula wins or loses. If she wins tonight, she might ditch the doubles and just focus all on the singles. Or if she loses tonight, she's still got doubles tomorrow. So that's a good. I like that. I like that the tournament did that. Because otherwise she had to play 2 matches a day and
frustrating.
And that's just a little rough. When it can be avoided. I'm trying to give Pegula every chance she has to win this tournament. An American champion Miami will go a long way. And as a Pegula fan, I don't mind. I don't mind the favoritism. 3-2. Eubanks serving. He's down a set, but he's on serve in the second. He's hit the forehand down the line to the back end of Medi. Back in now, Eubanks is into the back end of Medi. The forehand of Eubanks. Medi can't get it. Eubanks hits a winner. 15 love. Lovely forehand. I just want to see Jamie Foxx on camera after every Eubanks winner. That's all I want to see. I want to see his reactions after every time Eubanks hits a good shot, because he's going crazy after some of these shots. 15 love.
Hey.
Yeah, Emily also helped my fan slam. Not gonna lie. I want Pegula to win.
It was taking a while to get anybody, so I forgot you're coming. Hey, Rita, West Virginia, Scott, Stoney, no trust, no believe, Son, Mike Rousseau, Fahad, Mike Smith. Yeah, I wish that's the... Hi, Heidi. Heidi, ho. Heidi, hi. Happy hour. Yeah, I had people in from out of town, and it is looking good on the chart. Yeah, SEC, POS. GG, POS. I don't think this movement today has let me just see if I can pull up a chart. I don't think it's done any damage. It's just really frustrating. Gensler goes after digital currencies, but he does nothing about this. Do you understand what's happening with GTII? Kurt Kramer has been selling shares that he does not own. He has no call on. He's never going to own. He has no access to. And he keeps doing it. And Gary Gensler warns you about investing in digital currency. I think you got to start thinking about who you're voting for, and not get upset about the fact that Hillary lost the election. It's not Russia. She was just a terrible candidate. All right, so it's, yeah, they just come down. Well, that's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. They're just coming down and testing what used to be resistance. You hear it all the time. Resistance becomes support. So this is just a test of the, essentially of the 200-day moving average, which is a horizontal line. But what's beautiful is the 50-day moving average is moving over. It's about to cross over, and that's really positive. I just want to add one. Yeah, it seems like every rally up, we get 1 or 2 or 3 days down. And this is the second day of the rally down. So I really don't think it's horrible. Right here. Right here. You're testing the base. It's bounced off of it. There's this gap that we filled, which is normal to pull back from. And the volume is okay. It's not anything to be worried about. So I think it's all healthy. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. Um, Let me see what it's trading for. They provided the update. Um, which you saw. I guess yesterday we didn't come live, but the update yesterday was that the um, company's restricted shares dividend, the planned record date's April 15th. They haven't gotten approval yet, but they specifically stated there is no reverse split planned, and I don't think ever will be. Somebody on this call started that rumor, and then it went all around the internets. CRTD had interesting news. It's trading at 15.5. It had news 2 days ago about a merger with BCII Venture, but then yesterday the news was basically that CRTD is changing its ticker symbol to Vocal, VOCL, which I actually think is a much better symbol. What is created? I mean, created. Vocal, that describes their flagship product. So I think it's great. Created, the parent company of Vocal, an all-in-one social platform where anyone can share their stories, build an audience, and be rewarded, today announced that it will change its ticker to Vocal. The decision to change this ticker symbol is part of created strategy to better reflect its brand and strategic direction, as well as increase visibility and differentiate itself from competitors. Overall, the change in ticker symbol to VOCL Vocal represents an important milestone for Created. Well, it's a good idea. I don't know about a milestone. As the company looks to spin off or sell, so the milestone is they're planting their flag as Vocal, and then they're going to be spinning off and selling all non-core businesses, which is great. That's a great strategy to trap out the shorts. That's the milestone. This will further strengthen its position as a leading technology platform for creators and drive long-term value for shareholders. See, that's the word you don't want to hear, long-term. It's an investment now. As part of its refocused strategy, the company plans to officially spin off its direct-to-consumer business, Created Ventures, which owns the brands Dune, Basis, Camp, and Brave, later this year. This decision follows the already announced spin-off to shareholders of the OG collection. The legacy companies will be spun off on blockchain exchanges as special dividends to all Created shareholders of a to-be-announced record date. Jeremy Frommer commented, "We are excited to take this next step in the evolution of Created to the future of Vocal. The marketplace and current economic environment make it significantly more valuable for a company to spin off its matured non-core assets, particularly with the advent of blockchain exchanges where the assets can be valued without exposure to the manipulation and abusive trading practice currently occurring. The change will better reflect the company's core brand and strategy and is the first step in changing the company's CUSIP and creating future corporate actions. Our Vocal platform has been gaining tremendous momentum and has quickly become the primary focus and revenue generator in our portfolio. By focusing on efforts on this platform, we believe we can better serve the needs of our creators and drive long-term value for our shareholders and reduce overhead, which is that's great. So that was good news on CRTD. Pecos Bill. Pecos Bill. I don't know, Pecos Bill. By the way, I very kindly, I talked at length with John Berta yesterday, and he's a good man. He's a good man, and it's not that I learned anything earth-shattering, but I think those investors have your back. They really have your back. He did ask me how many shares I had, and I think when I told him, he was like, "You're not even in my league, boy." He didn't say that. MKC GTII is down today. I don't think it's market maker manipulation. I think it's the Kramers, the hedge fund, what other funds are in it, and Alpine, and they're stripping it. It's really hard. It's really hard to. It's like thinking about the universe, or thinking about time, or thinking about, I don't know, asking a girl you love on a date. It's just, or you think you love on a date. It's really confusing stuff. And I know I explain it, but I don't feel like it comes across. But what these guys do, they gang up on a stock. And so GTII right now is almost 1 million shares today. It was as high as 220 and as low as 184. So out of the gate from 220, Criminal 1 sells 100,000 shares at 220 and maybe keeps selling. Criminal 2 joins in and sells. When the stock gets to, let's just use 190, Criminal 3 sells shares at 190, buying back the counterfeit shares that don't exist of Criminal 1. So Criminal 1 sold at 220. Criminal 2 maybe's in there playing around. Criminal 3 sells at 190, which allows Criminal 1 to buy at 190, 100,000 shares. They lock in $30,000 profit there. They're all working together. And then Criminal 3 drives it down to 184, and Criminal 4 comes in and maybe sells at 184, 185, 186 to Criminal 3. He covers, makes a few pennies, 3 or 4 pennies. And then Criminal 4 is naked, not in a real sense. They just say it's all phony shares, but they're at risk at 184. So as it goes back up, Criminal 5, Criminal 1, Criminal 2, Criminal 6 all start selling to him, and they try to cross without a loss or very little losses. And that's why they tamp it down. They don't like it to move up. So by the end of the day, they might have one $30,000 gain, one $5,000 gain. Maybe they have another $10,000 gain. So they have $45,000 in gains. The sucker at the bottom who bought at the low, remember they're splitting it up amongst themselves, buys at the low, or they're helping each other. It's a deal, however they work it out. That guy tries to work out of it by the end of the day. But if so, there might be some losses. Let's say his losses are 15,000. So it brings you back down to what did I say? Were we at 45 or 55? I can't remember. Let's say we were at 45,000, brings you down to 30,000. And then if by the end of the day it runs away or they don't cover, they just leave it overnight. If they can never take care of something they lost, and they'll just walk away from the LLC, stiff the prime broker, stiff you, stiff the system. But every day they do this. They do it day after day after day. They're selling shares that don't exist amongst themselves. And you would say, well, that's a crazy risk. Well, they're closing most of the positions. If they lose, they're just going to walk away. And who they're hurting in the first place is the prime broker. And the prime broker will get destroyed. But remember, I think this guy, Hurley, he is the prime broker, but I think he's complicit with all of the criminals. Because I think Alpine had to take over the Kramer position. Alpine called in the criminals, called them in. And of course, that's all in my judgment. You know, people say, well, can you prove that? Can you prove it? Well, I don't. In the case of GTII, it's a cartoon. If you watch AMC or GME, it's like a Monet painting or a Michelangelo. There's so many shades and hues and brush strokes and colors and chiaroscuro. And you're looking at, you can't tell. But with GTII, it's like a Snoopy cartoon. You can see everything they drew. They can see every line. And can you prove it? The only guy that can prove it is Gary Gensler. But he wants to go after, he's in front of Congress saying that he's proposing 4 initiatives to make markets more transparent and fairer for you, the investor. And listen to me, I'm Gary Gensler. I'm here to do good for you. Well, the one thing he's not addressing is settlement. 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 Do you guys wonder? Do you ever send a letter to Gary Gensler? Do you ever send a letter to your senators? What is in my account? In the case of GTII, Senator, there are not, it's not complicated. There's one short seller who did not have shares. It's not like it's a scheme against a long or a hedge or it's not complicated at all. Just selling shares that don't exist. And then once Alpine came in, Senator, it's like a gang of criminals working with each other just to strip money out of the marketplace, Senator. And what's in my account? I put up real money. What's in my account? I can tell you what, in the case of GTII or in MMTLP, we know for a fact that in my account is nothing. How can you let this go on, Senator? And by the way, Senator, this is going to cost the system more than Sam Bankman-Fried or SVB or George Bush's wars or Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness, Senator. This is going to cost the system trillions and trillions of dollars, and it could shatter the American financial system overnight once everybody realizes. What are you doing about it, Senator? Have you asked Gary Gensler? I know he's in. He uses his hands, smiles, very glib guy. But what's he actually doing about this, Senator? What is in my account? I put up money. What's in my account, Senator? And if you want a simple one, GME, too confusing, AMC, too confusing, COSM, too confusing, here's a simple one, GTII. The guy for 2.5 years has been selling stock that doesn't exist. Just ask Gensler to look into it. You want another reason one? MMTLP. There's 1 billion shares sold that don't exist. What is in my account, Senator? What is in my account? Does it bother you, Senator? I don't know if you've written a letter like that or not. I haven't because I don't have a senator. Don't have a senator. 188 to 192, 190. It's not even a million shares yet. So it's all fraud. It's all manipulation. There's no real selling. They'll come out. It'll come out at the end of the day, and Dozier will say that put up the numbers, and it'll say maybe 60% naked short. But the rest of it's all fake volume. It's all fake. And what's hard to get across is it does have to be bought back. And more than having to be bought back, when it's bought back, there won't be any more selling, and the rally is going to be like a geyser. Yeah, Thomas Dubois. Gensler is a clown. Well, MKZ, I don't know how much longer it can go on before people take action, but I tell you what you guys are doing, particularly the MMTLP and the GTII people, is having a huge effect. People are upset. They're getting educated. You all as a group and individually know more than if you walked in and talked to the average wealth manager, wealth advisor. They have no clue. Absolutely no clue. And you do. You do. So I don't think they're going to be able to let this go on much longer. I also think one of these stocks, and I'm going to guess it's going to be GTII first. Hedge funds and crooks are too far underwater for any covering. The market will be shut down first. Maybe, Barry. I mean, I personally think that's the biggest risk because everyone gets educated. It would have been nice if a squeeze happened and we were trying to figure out what caused the squeeze. Instead, what we're doing, we're educating ourselves, but we're educating everyone on what would happen in a squeeze. And I think you're right, Barry. If there's a smart person out there, they're going to say, let's just shut down these markets. But that's one way, Barry. I think the more likely way was the answer that FINRA gave to MMTLP. I think the more likely way is just like what they're doing with the banking system now. They're just trying to buy time, let the waters get calmed down, and then hopefully you'll forget all about it. And you'll just, look, the banking system is a fractional reserve banking system. You're lucky if there's $1 for every 10 of deposits in a bank. $1 in the vault, metaphorically. 1 for 10. I think the number's a lot worse than that. The ratio's a lot worse. This is exactly what they're doing, and I think the ratio's a lot worse, clearly in GTII. So they just want you, and Barry, in my opinion, they just want you to forget about this turmoil and go back to, hey, my account shows the stock. I can trade it. I bought it for cash. I can sell it for cash. What do I care if it's counterfeit or not? The problem is that securities are not fungible. It's not like cash. You have corporate governance issues. You have, for example, supply and demand issues. I mean, on a macro level with money, and we're experiencing it under Joe Biden. I swear, since Hillary Clinton lost, she just wants to destroy the party and the country. And then you've got Joe Biden just accelerating it. I don't understand the strategy. I'm a Democrat, by the way, so don't get all upset with me. But right now on a macro level, we're just throwing money around because we don't care about it. We're squandering it in wars, squandering it here and there, print it. we treat it with disrespect. The rest of the world's going to treat our dollar with disrespect. But it took a long time to get there. It took. It's not quite 100 years from Bretton Woods, but it certainly is about. It's probably about 100 years since the dollar started taking on preeminence in the world. I guess it would be more after World War II than after the Great Depression. But in any event, so I don't know, I can't do the arithmetic. We're 80 years, that's our window. Well, what's happening with the securities markets, they're trying to tell you it doesn't matter, but it does matter. When you have 100 million shares in the market and jerks, liars, thieves, manipulators, men like Kurt Kramer can just flood the market with 200 or 300 million non-existent shares, that hurts you. It suppresses the price because securities, each security by definition is micro. It's not macro. It's micro. It's a microcosm. So if he's flooding the market with securities, it's depressing the value of your shares. But Gensler's hopeful that you don't notice that, and you're just glad you get out, and then all your brokers tell you, well, you shouldn't be in the over-the-counter market anyway. It's too risky. And you go, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. That was my mistake. I just shouldn't have gotten in there. It's all set up so they can strip money from you. And then they call themselves managers and advisors and investment bankers. They're just overpaid wankers. That's all they are. That's all they are. Well, it's true, Susan. It's not right or left. I don't know. I don't think the right... I don't know. I'm just going to say it's not Democratic Party or Republican Party. I'll just put it that way. Alex Delga. Alex Delga. Yeah, Rob Galen. I agree with that. Sorry, my eyesight. It's Alex Diega. Do you think the dividend shares will be distributed through Upstream? Could that be announced tomorrow with the one? Hi from Germany. Guten, I don't know how to say it. Guten Tag. I don't know how to say it. I think that the restricted shares could be distributed on Upstream, but they don't have to be. They could just be distributed through Liberty Stock Transfer, just like the warrant as a special dividend was. And that was effective until everyone scurried away from the stock. It was working. So yes, it could happen, but it's not, I don't think doing it on Upstream is a predicate for a squeeze or a count. I think it can be just done normally through Liberty Stock Transfer. There will be a little effort on your part, as there was with the warrants. You have to fill out a form, get it over to the transfer agent, and you have to call your broker to make sure they transferred your dividend, because the dividend will be issued. What your brokerage firms will want to do is just stuff your account with fraud, because for 10, 15, 20 years, no one cares. Stock market's going up, money's for free, or is it chicks for free? Money for nothing and chicks for free. I want my MTV. I'm burying. You're going to bury GTI Friday? What, in your backyard? I'm just kidding you. You mean buying more GTI Friday, going all in. I think it's a these Kramer discounts are just great opportunities in my judgment. I can't give specific advice, but on the other hand, I would have told you that a year ago. David Kramer is, boy, you guys are good today, is the fact the elected politicians delegated all their authority to unelected bureaucrats and now won't accept. Well, that's right, David. The biggest example of that is the cackler in waiting. Kamala Harris doesn't do anything. She just says nonsensical things. She's a hypocrite. She put men, particularly in jail, for smoking marijuana, and then she bragged about it that she used to smoke marijuana. I mean, she's not black in the sense of an African American. She's Jamaican American. Her family owned slaves in the background, and her father, I think, was Jamaican originally, not even American. He taught at Stanford, I think, economics, and he met and married a student of his from India, and they had a child, Kamala Harris. Kamala's married to a white man. She grew up in a very privileged way. She did all that drama to Joe Biden that she was on. I was that girl on the bus going back and forth. It's complete. If in fact she were ever on a bus, it maybe was 1 year, but she doesn't represent the experience of African Americans at all. But her skin's a little darker, and she got her start in life. Everyone wants to judge Trump as such a bad guy. Kamala Harris got her step up in life when she was in her 20s, and I guess a hot number. She was sexually involved for years in a relationship with a married man. And he happened to be the mayor of San Francisco. That's how she got her start. I don't know. Does that make her better than Trump? I don't. I know Trump is odious, so therefore everybody else is better. But come on. Anyway, I think she's the perfect example of what you're talking about. Doing nothing, getting the acclaim, getting the job, and then leaving the work to either, you call it bureaucrats, maybe it's the deep state, but the agenda is someone else's. And it's a posh life. Big salary, boards afterward, you go down in history, you always get the table at the restaurant, and it's a nice life. Just sell out your countrymen and blame it on white men. Blame everything on white straight men, and you go to the top. I don't know, guys. The country's got to stop doing this. We've got to stop doing this. Anyway, let's not talk about politics and that. The stock is 189. We're still not over 1 million. 997,000 shares, and we're still not over 1 million. CRTD, I'm just going to look again because it was moving. 1525 last trade. Logic's, by the way, not that we have to talk about it, it's down over the last 2 or 3 days because somebody that had stock that worked for the company, their 2 years was up and they've been selling. I think it started with 170,000, 180,000 shares. It's almost finished. And then I expect the stock to recover nicely. Cosmos Health is 352. So, I guess it's still an opportunity to swap out of COSM and get into GTII, as was recommended. GNS is $1.58, which speaks for itself. This BCII that's merging with CRTD is down actually a little bit, not much. And I don't know what other stock to give you. GoLogic had great news today and a research report, but it's flat, no volume, zero shares. I don't know what other stock to talk about. We could look at the price of Ford. Aren't you interested in the price of Ford? $12.25. Oh, Hell's Bells? All right, let me look at Hell's Bells. Wow. 1187. That's essentially the low. So if there's a story going on, it's not a bad time to buy just on that one metric. It's only one of many metrics you should look at, but it's interesting. BRDS for the birds. Tuppence a bag. 0.247. It's down today, but it's up from its 10-cent low on the year. That's an interesting one. Elegantly wasted. Yeah, it's elegantly wasted. It is all shorting. Hey, stream's working better? Well, guess what, Spiny Norman? For the last many days, I was trying to upgrade my system myself. And today, they called me and they said, "We noticed you're not activated. Is there something wrong?" I said, "Well, I've been trying, but I can't find the black box anywhere." I've looked in all the closets, the basement, everywhere. And she said, "Well, our records show it's in the living room." I said, "There's no black box in the living room." And sure enough, there wasn't a black box. So they delivered it today, hooked it up, and I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I have like a gigabyte or something like that. Or anyway, I have the gold standard. I've shifted from, in this area, this is the gold standard hookup, and I've shifted from a good one, but not gold standard. So, Mr. Norman, about 4 hours ago, I'm hooked up. So you should never see any trouble with this stream ever again, except for the idiot talking. You might see trouble with this right here, but not with that. Hey, Jeff Kendrick. PYX Pixis? Oncology, wow. Hey, up 31%, 141, 595. It's getting close to its 52-week high. The volume is 46 million. Wow. It's about 4 or 5 times the average volume. Susan Howard, I haven't heard where Roth is with a price. And it may well be that Roth is going to not be the first mover and kind of see what happens with FINRA, which I guess could happen, something could happen according to Ham. The pressure Wes is putting on is enormous. Remember, Wes is working with several companies, but one of them is I forget, is it called Fireside or Fire Flame or Fire All Your Rockets, Baby? I don't know. There's an LLC set up to represent you and MMTLP by a group of guys. And they've hired Wes Christian. So I would expect you could see some action very soon by Wes Christian along the lines of what he did with GTII to get the cases filed, to go into discovery. So I think things will move forward with alacrity. Flamethrower, dragonfly, flamethrower. All right, ex Matador. She worked for Gibson Dunn, ex Matador. Are you kidding me, ex Matador? She worked for Gibson Dunn. Yeah, Scott Scheller. I'm sure I'm the gold standard. I'm. Anyway, we'll see. This is a beginning. If these are uninterrupted, the other thing is, I might be able to do videos that are a little more. I don't know about professional, but they might have more to them that I can upload quickly because of this whatever the heck it is, gigatron of whatever happens. Yeah, Robert, thank you. It's upgraded. I told you guys I would do it, and I this is my second solution. My first solution is still sitting over there on the table. I have to pack it up. That's money down the drain. But my second solution, it was, I think, Saturday, maybe Friday, but that I went in and, yeah, maybe Friday. And here it is Thursday. And it's set up. It's amazing. If you put your mind to it, what you can do. I know there's a lot of people I have to go back and see what they said. But let's look at GTII again. I'm going to predict a rally by the end of the day in GTII. I don't know if it'll go green, but I think it'll go... It's either going to go just under 2 or just over 2. So I'll say it's going to go to 201 by the end of the day. I don't know, David Zondes. I think Congress on the Democratic side is bought. Hillary said that it doesn't change her mediocre performance in life. I mean, what has she ever accomplished? She does everything to great fanfare, but I know a lot of smart people, a lot of smart women, and I don't see much difference between them and Hillary Clinton. But the difference is they work hard, they accomplish, and they don't complain, and they don't accuse others of what they do. But anyway, I think the Democratic Party has been entirely captured by the banks, and so I don't expect you're going to see anything out of the Senate as long as the gavels are held by posers who are paid for by the banks and the big pharmacy companies and the war machine and other lobbyists. I just don't see it. On the House side, you might see some action, but you've got an interesting mix of Republicans. Many of those are all bought too, and They don't want to disrupt the system. But there's some, to use that word that Susan just put up, there's a lot of flamethrowers from the back bench there that could. So yeah, they could demand Gary Gensler do something, but I don't think they will on national TV, and I don't think you'll see. But more importantly, there has to be a tipping point where people go, what is in my account? That's all it is. All it is. You individually, but when the whole country realizes that Wall Street's been defrauding the entire country without paying taxes in large part, and then they get tax benefits off their losses, and when everything wobbles, we rescue them. But when I should try to do it again, but I did a very simplistic Google search. Took me half an hour, 45 minutes to figure out what I was looking for. And I know it's sloppy as hell because I don't know what this data is. But I did it about a year ago. And to my memory, the DTCC had $80 trillion in securities, which might also include bonds. Okay. But then the United States citizen, you, had something like $120 trillion in the financial system. It's unclear to me if that includes some institutions or not. So I'm telling you, this is not a perfect example, but it showed U.S. household financial assets at $120 trillion. This is like a year ago. And the DTCC was at something like 80 trillion. It might have been less. Well, very simplistically, if the institution that custodials all financial assets in the country has 80 trillion and the accounts have 140 trillion, where's that 60 trillion? Where is it? Is it there? So I don't know the exact numbers, but when people wake up that maybe there's 60 trillion missing, or I always get my numbers wrong, 80 to 120 isn't 60, it's 40 trillion is missing. That's when Congress will do something about it. Mr. Gensler, were you aware that you're not enforcing Regulation Show? Are you aware that Goldman Sachs makes 75% of its revenue on the prime brokerage side from lending out counterfeit shares? You know, Gary Gensler, the tragedy of Gary Gensler, he could have gone down in history as a great man. The likelihood he'll be a forgotten man like men and women throughout government. But he has a real chance of going down in history in ignominy, because if the financial system collapses and people realize that the basis for that collapse, using my example, is $40 trillion of the assets in the American security system are all fake, I think you can start learning to speak Chinese or Russian or Canadian. Let me see. PS71, GNS hired the lawyer you didn't like, and as you predicted, they did settle. They also have West. Could this just be one? Yeah. Look, some people just jump out to get glory and get out in front, start speaking before they understand, because they want to make sure they're the vanguard of the movement. But I don't know the guy, but I think the head of GNS is sincere in his fight, and he's just got to learn by doing. Some people learn by doing. Others can read or sit in a class. Some people just have to do it. I'm a mixture of both, I suppose, because I don't read instructions. I just open the box and plug things in. But on the other hand, well, in my life, I have read a lot, and I learned that way too. And I don't mind listening to other people. But when you settle, you're just helping out the shorts. And I think you're right, PS 71, that there might be a multi-stage process. But as a shareholder, that can also, when companies need cash, that can often lead to dilution. All right, I'm going to go back. Let me go back and see if I can go to the start at the top. Start at the top and then yeah. I can't remember the words of the Beatles song. Well, we get to the top and I don't do charts, Millennial Collector says. Just tell me when we when we rest in peace up. No, when we rip up. What was the Form 4 filing? I don't know, and I guess you're talking about GTII, so I'll look it up. What do you think about Gensler's request at the House Appropriation Committee for an extra 8% to increase the budget for $2.14 billion? Well, Gensler, who is that? Chris Forsey. Gensler has complained that he only has 4,500 people working for him. And I don't know. I've never worked at the SEC. I suppose if you've got a multi-trillion-dollar security system, you do need more people. But I wonder if he's hiring any more people or just increasing salaries. I don't know what is 2.14 billion. Divided by 4,500. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Is it 50,000 each? I don't think so. I must have missed it by a zero. I don't know the answer. 2.2 billion. It sounds like a lot of money to me. Hey, Joseph Leo, I think on MMTLP, let me write that down because I got to catch up. Let me write down MMTLP, Joe, Leo, reconcile. Okay, I'm going to write that one down. I don't know how to hit the like button. Naked Shorts are just collecting more retail money on CRTD before they naked short it back to do it. Well, Barry Crouch, you're a bit of a grouch today. But you're right. Could be what they're doing. I think it's already happened. And I think it's possible that Jeremy, with a little bit of gamemanship, has let them oversell. So now that there's a series of positive events, there could be buying back. I would bet, Barry Crouch, they're not going to be able to sell it back down. But, that's what makes a market, You could be 100% right. I love that, Bob Picos. Bill Picos. They always called me Billy Bob in London. Billy Bob. I don't know why. Called my dad Billy Bob. Yes, GTII is down because of market manipulation. Now you can get your sanity back, Joe? That's a nice compliment, because I don't feel sane. Yeah, as soon as they get the extension, Frank, they attack, which means Sorry, somebody was calling. I hung it up. Lower prices, Philip, bring in buying. So it's going to work against them. Yeah, MMAT took a deal a year ago, and they've never recovered from it. Sam O, hey Pico, would like to see Gensler swallow that now. Oh lordy, I've been watching the last John Wick. Is his name John Wick? And then they had Halle Berry fighting men as if she's Roger Moore. It's not believable, but. Complexity is the refuge of the scoundrel. So is M. Casey. You were in Torchlight. Yeah, you're fed it up now. I had a lot of Torchlight. For me, I had a big position. I had a lot of my clients in it. Matthew Mall. They are never going to cover, are they? Are we there yet? Are we ever going to get there? Mom, we've been driving for hours. When are we going to get there? We're never going to get there, Mom. I don't know the answer, Matthew. Did they cover? Did they cover in Volkswagen? Did they cover in Piggly Wiggly, whatever it was called? Did they cover in AMC and GME? I don't know, Matthew. I would suggest, Matthew, that if that's what your gut's telling you, the stock for GTII has been a lot lower. It's been down at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 cents. So at $2 and thereabouts, it's a good time to get out. There's other stocks out there that aren't being shorted to this magnitude. There's ETFs. You can go into your brokerage firm and they'll recommend a nice menu of managed accounts. You could get into a suite of mutual funds, and you don't ever have to worry about short selling per se again. But to answer your question, Matthew Mall, yes, they are going to cover, in my judgment. And to answer your question more directly, they will never cover. They being the Kramers, they being Alpine. It's going to be the adults in the room that have to clean up the mess that are going to trigger buy-ins. And the buy-ins will be non-sensitive to price. There will be an inelasticity of demand, I guess, because price won't matter. Higher the price, they'll still be buying. So yes, I think the adults are going to come in and buy it all in, Matthew Mall. Do you think the dividend will be distributed, Alex? I think I answered that. Divi upstream. Rough day yesterday. We need our money. Show us the money, Fahad. Crazy world. Most of Congress are in the pockets of hedge funds. See, now it's spun up. I got to be more careful. I got to go back up. People don't do the research before voting or care enough. Yeah. I mean, people are busy. I can understand that. And Trump is odious, so you end up with Democrats who lie to you. Jeff Nielsen, the solution is for a whale to come in and buy 10,000 shares per hour for about 3 days. I don't know. I think there's been some whales buying, but I think steady buying, accumulation will do it. They do seem to have this endless ability to counterfeit, while Gary Gensler is focused on the caboose of Kim Kardashian. Barry Crouch, hedge funds and crooks are far underwater for any covering. I think I already answered that. Jackson '07, is GTI at $100 yet? No, Jackson, it isn't. Jackson '07, what was that drop to 186? Jackson, I think it was your friends shorting it. Song Wei, are we expecting 1800 Martian completion by next week? We're expecting it. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but we're expecting it. I've heard conflicting information that that's when the time runs out. But yes, we are expecting it. Is GTII J. Abrams in TY? Is GTII in TY? Thank you. Inti? Wow, Big Vic. 6% is what you were told was real cash. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Z to the U. I can't be a Democrat forever. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I should be a U.S. citizen forever. But I love the country, and I don't know. I guess through every life, darkness must fall, rain must fall, and we'll get through this. PS 71, once they drive the price down to nothing, why not close out their short positions and make the problem go away? Or with the share, well, that you answered your own question, of course, PS 71. They can't cover it. And the other reason, if you look at the stock HPIL, who hired the law firm that is promoting itself on our Twitters, HPIL settled. The stock, and it's Kramer. The stock is now 0.000001, something like that. Well, fanfare settled. Hey, we did good things for the shareholders, but the stock just continued downward. Can't get financing. It lives in an illusion. It's an illusion of a company, and it'll never get better because it's impossible. There's too many shares. You can reorganize it, but the original shareholders would just be crammed down. So, in other words, you could roll it up you could reverse all the shares, recapitalize it, get rid of all the crappy debt, but the current shareholders might own 1 or 2 or 3% of the newco. It's a disaster. And the key, though, is PS 71. In that situation, Kurt Kramer's not paying any taxes because there's no closing transactions. So if he can drive the stock downward, not buy. His intention is to never buy. He doesn't want a 1099 going to the IRS. So he can sell hundreds of millions, even billions of shares. Literally, in some of the companies, he sells billions of shares. They drive it down to nothing. There's a name for it. It's called Cellar, CELLAR, like your basement. Cellar boxing, like BOXING, cellar boxing. Boxing the stock into the cellar. And once they do that, the stock's going nowhere. It might go bankrupt. It might get delisted. It might just hobble on while the 60-year-old man pretends to have a career. And but at the end of the day, the Kramers don't have to close their positions. By buying them back, you create a closing position, you create a profit, you create a 1099, and then you've got to pay 24% of that at a minimum to the IRS. And why should the Kramers have to pay for the roads they drive on, for the defense of the country that they live in, for the electricity grid, the power grid, the education system that their children and family live? Why should they have to pay any taxes? They're special. They're just two young kids trying to raise a family in the outskirts of New York. They're special. I don't know why, but they're special. So they don't have to pay taxes. That's why. That's why they don't cover. GTII fail if we close in 180. I don't know, J. Abrams, it's always possible. I don't know what you mean by GTII fail. Anyway, I don't know, Jay. I can say it over and over and over and over again, and I guess I do. These shares are being counterfeited. The stock market is all fraud. This is all fraud. And so watching the price is like watching a lady of the night get dressed up in a black gown and pretend to be a debutante. Or, I don't know, a comparable example for a guy. A con artist joining the finest country club. It's all fraud. MKC, I think it's more likely you're going to hear about. I don't think either of your questions are going to happen soon, Roth Capital or NBH shares. I think it's more likely you're going to hear, in the case of MMTLP, about the West Christian lawsuit soonest. That's something they can control. But the unpredictable thing, I think, is the pressure is building on FINRA and the SEC. I think you might hear further from there. But I think the soonest thing, the most, I don't know what word to use, the most likely thing to hear about is the West Christian lawsuit. Alpine extension stop censorship may have, I'm sure it did create downward pressure, because one of the arguments was that Alpine was going to collapse, therefore there's no place for the criminals to sell. This just gives the criminals another month to crime. All they're going to do, like I tried to explain, you get 5 or 6 or 8 of them working in tandem. The first one shorts out of the box, the second one buys it, the third one shorts, the fourth one buys it, the fifth one shorts, the sixth one buys it, the seventh one shorts, the eighth one buys it, the ninth and 10th trade back and forth all day, and at the end of the day, they settle it up amongst themselves in some fashion. They might be able to strip $100,000 a day out of the market by just creating stock out of thin air, creating supply out of thin air. Prices are determined by supply and demand. If you increase supply, the price goes down. Even in this system, if you increase supply with fake shares, because the system is all electronic, there's nobody monitoring delivery. Gary Gensler has forfeited his responsibility to even look into the over-the-counter market. He couldn't care less. He's focused on Bitcoin and the currency exchanges. He figures over-the-counter market, it'll regulate itself. This is all Bill Clinton, by the way. This is Robert Rubin, who went on to retire as a wealthy man. These are people your age that are stealing from you with these Republican ideas. Bill Clinton was the best Republican we ever had. He got things passed that Republicans at the time could not pass. But he got them passed. Remember the third way? Yeah, I think, Frank, that's right. There's no difference between them. Civil war, if they shut down the markets, elegantly wasted after taking all of our money. This is planned, so they shut it down, local stations. But, well, I think we are headed to either a civil war or our country will break up. You cannot, even if Joe Biden got 81 million votes, which makes him the single most popular president in history, more votes than Hillary, more votes than Trump, more votes than Obama. if he got 81 million and Trump got 74 million, it's more votes than registered voters in the United States. So even if that were the fairest election in history, as everyone wants us to believe, remember, Hillary Clinton was allowed to question the election of Donald Trump because Trump is odious. And the Russians clearly helped. Otherwise, it was her turn. Well, when the other side says, wait a minute, when we went to bed, Trump was winning massively, and all of a sudden there's all these delivery of ballots that were printed in China. There's ballots delivered from New York City down to Florida, to Pennsylvania, and they won't do a recount. In kindergarten, if the vote gets close for the class president, everyone recounts. So anyway, if when the conservatives say this wasn't fair, the other side says, hey, you're a conspiratorialist. You're an election denier. Well, wait a minute. Hillary Clinton is the biggest of all election deniers. She lost. She was corrupt and untalented, and she ran a really crap-all campaign. But she denied it. She denied the results. If maybe it's a majority, but I feel like it's a minority, runs, what's the word, ramshod over a majority, eventually the majority, or it's a minority, whatever, if it's 51-49%, the other side just, I've had enough. And so I think the country is headed, I don't think to civil war, but I think it's going to break up into three parts. Spiny Norman, continued buying just lines the shorts' pockets. No, maybe GTIs should sit while they whittle away at themselves. Just a thought. Yeah, maybe. See, Spiny, things don't happen in a vacuum. The reason we're buying GTII and others are buying it is they expect a short squeeze. People expect to have a huge move to the upside. I think it would be counterintuitive to just sit idly by. So, but each individual person could certainly follow that advice, Spiny. Just stop buying GTII, get out of GTII, let the shorts drive it down, and then buy at a lower price. I mean, that's one strategy. Tom M. Ace said the only way GTI doesn't squeeze is if the SEC implements a rule to block that from happening. Is it possible? Sure, Tom. The SEC can do anything it wants. But I don't think there is such a rule that allows them to stop it. I think it would be an extraordinary action, which is allowed. It would be government fiat. It's your government. But no, I think, Tom, once the buying comes in, it's going to be out of control. And no, there's no way to stop the over-the-counter. There's no options or warrants. There's no derivatives that I know of. And it's a completely stupid upside-down trade. So I think Ace is being, I don't know what the word is, but he's giving, I mean, on its face, that you're right, it's possible. Government can do anything they want. But no, Tom, I would say the odds of the SE stopping GTI are minimal. If a prime broker collapses the way SVB did, they might have a meeting Sunday night and then come in and shut down all the markets. So, Tom, yeah, it's a risk. Well, I agree with you, Crazy World. I think Ronald Reagan, I dissent from all of my friends. They love Ronald Reagan as a president. I actually think I got to be careful. But I do not think he was a good president, Ronald Reagan. And he got, well, there you go again. But he ushered in, you're absolutely right, Crazy World, he ushered in this idea of lower regulation. But you got to know that Jimmy Carter really cut regulation, and everyone jumps on him. But he cut regulation in the airlines, in the oil and gas industry. He had some rules that kind of were quirky. He got rid of the wage and price controls that Nixon, a Republican, put in. Ford, remember whip inflation now? They'd have that badge, whip inflation now. Carter got rid of all that stuff. So Reagan gets credit for deregulating, but I think Reagan made a lot of mistakes, and I agree with you 100%. I think Reagan created the environment for Newt Gingrich, and I think Newt Gingrich was one of the great disasters to ever happen in American government. He and his backbenchers harnessed the very language of English to manipulate messages, to destroy people, destroy progress, and to set us against each other. And someone that learned very well, she learned under Saul Alinsky, but she learned what Newt did was Hillary. And we've got to get away from it all. I don't want to pick on any one person, but we got to stop lobbing bombs at each other, because we're under attack now. We're under attack, and it doesn't look good. Dividend through upstream. That's why I voted Trump. Are we still good? Alpine gets unlimited. Alpine, J. Abrams, Alpine's not going to get unlimited dollars. Alpine's going to go down, in my judgment. What's wrong with these questions? Nothing's wrong with the questions, Lion. I'm just such a slowpoke to go over them. I already answered that, Casey, but I think the most likely thing you're going to hear on MMTLP is Wes Christian's lawsuit. When I grow up, I want to be just like you. Well, that's a good point, Barry. GTII float has been locked other than doing deals. Everything bought, 350 million shares have been counterfeit. And I was talking with a friend. I mean, if you assign $1 on that, or 75 cents or 50 cents, I don't know, $1 for the dummy in the room, I can do the arithmetic. That's $350 million in cash, to be simplistic, that you put up, Barry. And what's in your account? What's in your account? You put up $350 million in cash, and what do you have in your account? And Gary Gensler says that the digital coin markets are risky. I can't imagine a bigger risk than you put up $350 million for nothing. But no one cares. They're all just bloody wankers. Sam, oh, that's great. Yes, Susan. I thought you were an attorney. I thought all attorneys made a lot of money. Yes, that would be Hail Hydra, a great bumper sticker. And it was my friend in London who I lived there. We worked as whenever I fly into London and out, I always say I'm a banker, but it was his term. Guten Tag. Yeah, same Boston. Yeah, that's it, Stop Sanderson. That's the focus. Germans mostly say hello. Hello, hello. And they also say, no, I'm not going to say that. But it's one of the best Faulty Towers exhibits when they argue about who started the war. Wow, I'm catching up. It's the fact that elected politicians delegate. Yeah, I'm catching up with these questions. I'm catching up. Heaven help them, Barry Jones. If there's a margin call, exactly. And I'm hopeful that heaven doesn't help them. Dollar cost averaging, quality not quantity. She's the worst VP in history, Z to the U. You know, they said that about Truman, and Truman turned out to be arguably, do you notice that the great presidents are the ones that killed a lot of people? But, maybe she'll turn out to be like Truman when she gets in office, and then we'll really, because she's sly as a fox. She doesn't say, I had a client that used to say to me, they can't quote what you don't say. She doesn't say anything. She just, when she's asked to be interviewed, she runs on and on and on with nonsensical statements. They're not going to end up on the side of a building someday, and they're not going to end up in the op-ed of the newspapers criticizing her. They're just big nothing. It's how she got through. It's how she got through. She's a woman, and as she's first to say, of color. That's how she got promoted. That's how she got all her jobs. Well, good for her. Really, really proud of her. Well, that's it, Stony Bones. 300 million to cover will be 3 or 4 digits. I agree. We are all slaves. What subject line? I'm sorry. I'm trying to get every single question. Yeah, I know. Z to U. She was Indian years ago. Now she's just black. Well, she says African American. I'm so sick of all of these titles. I mean, I'm no more white than that blackboard, that whiteboard right behind me. And she's no more black than that piece of string up there. It's just so silly. Well, at least she slept her way up while she was cute. And still you're a liberal. She don't know where the book drop the politics. Yeah, I will. Who was that? Mike Duggan. I know. I'm sorry, Mike Duggan. Politics is a pain in the neck, and I'm sorry about that. It's just, I should have been more disciplined, Mike. Tony Sarah, I agree. The discount is great. Destiny rules. L'amour. What happens April 5th? I don't think anything, Stony, because they got an extension of 30 more days. Willie Brown. Yeah, that is racism, Anthony Wilson. It is racism. Oh, you found today very discouraging, Susan Howard. Montel Williams. Let's talk about logic than politics. 1-800. No, by the way, I welcome everyone that disagrees with me. See, every time I let go, Lion's saying I'm not answering all the questions. Every time I let go, the questions spin out of control. She's African American? That's her heritage, KYP? I don't think so. Well, I don't know. I guess I don't know what African American is. I don't call myself European American, So maybe you're right. But she comes from Jamaica, and I suppose the slaves in Jamaica came from Africa. But as you know, a lot of the slave owners in Jamaica were African Americans, to coin a phrase. And I don't know, it gets all complicated. It's not just the color of your skin. I don't own any XRP Cloud 43, but I want to. And it's not just because Lou recommends it. It's because several people I follow and I paid subscriptions to have been recommending it for, I don't know, almost 2 years. But I've been waiting for GTII. Bunny Chico, I don't know about APLM. But KYP, I did rant. But KYP, I'm not trying to say you're wrong, by the way, because maybe I misunderstand it. I just think her experience is so different than if you grew up in Georgia or in Southeast here. She grew up on a campus in white communities, gated communities. She married a white guy. I think she's had a very privileged background. I know KYP. I'm glad you missed it, but I will own up to it. I did. And you know something, KYP? My dad would probably say it's time for a woman, and that's true too. You know, you can't argue with that. Yes, little or D. Oh, you're half Jamaican? KYP? Of course Jamaicans came from Africa, but maybe we did too, you know. Um, if you believe, you know, according to DNA, there was the human population dwindled maybe in the Ice Age to less than 40,000 souls. It might have been even less than that. And uh, so we all come from the same origin. We're just choosing to divide ourselves over the last few hundred years rather than, you know, we all started the same way. I like that, Scott. Uh, I know slave owners in Jamaica were white. That's true, KYP, but you've got to look it up. Um, Kamala Harris's family owned slaves. Just have to look it up. So, you know, maybe I don't know what to say about it. It's just factual. But you are right. It was white people that did it. But is it the white? Was it the Irishmen that came as indentured servants? Was it the Italians that came over broke? I don't know. It just gets all confusing. Was it the Jewish population that owned slaves? I don't think so. I think it was pretty much restricted to people that came from certain parts of the United Kingdom. But I'll take the blame because I got pale skin. Yes, we can one fix it, man. I wish I'd seen it sooner. Buy XRP on Uphold. What's that? You mean on Upstream? Robert Shigano, you can buy it on, or there's an Uphold. All right, I'll look up Uphold. I think it's a great. I think XRP is a great buy, Robert. And I got to tell you that Lou has been correct about that. It's been really good advice on his part. He's been talking about XRP for a long time. What do I think of GNS? Well, it's already come back down. I was really worried that when it went to $6-7, they were going to sell it right back down. It's already down. It's, you know, the CEO is really fighting hard, and the story has a lot of moving parts that I guess are exciting, but I really don't know. I'm not fluent in the revenues and where the next step is. I should probably try to study it now that the stock price is down. These stocks, in my judgment, you buy when no one wants them. When they run up, you sell. I haven't been able to do that for myself with GTII, but looking back, that was the thing to do over the last couple of years. But the risk-reward ratio on GNS is getting a lot more attractive right now. And you know you have a fighter out there. But at the same time, it's a special CEO that understands that you can't settle with the shorts without diluting your shares. Oh, your grandparents. That's great, but her father is Jamaican. I have nothing against Jamaica. It's just a different experience, that's all. I just watched KYP. I just watched the other night a great documentary on Reggie Jackson, who was a hero of mine when I was a kid and then into college. And I just loved Reggie Jackson. I loved Muhammad Ali. I loved how they fought, but also, how they spoke out is what I mean by fighting. But they also, they performed. That's hard to be an athlete and say you're going to do something and then go do it. And I just really loved Reggie Jackson. And I liked Vida Blue. That's how I got to know about Reggie Jackson. I remember Vida Blue. But anyway, I watched the documentary, and I tell you, KYP, and we shouldn't talk about race, I guess, but man, how difficult it was for him. I was clueless that guys making that kind of money and having all that success, the kind of racism and hardship they were going through as members of a major league baseball team. Absolutely shocking. So KYP, I am more than ready and willing to be corrected when I'm wrong and acknowledge that my perspective can't be, just can't be the perspective that's right. But on the other hand, I still stand by her family owned slaves. I'll look at APLM. I don't know if it ever was. Yeah, it's funny, KYP. Her father rejected her when she was running for office. I'm sure they've made up. And you know what? She's an attorney and she was a senator. Maybe she'll surprise us once she's president. Craig Dahmer, I'm sick of people from GTII saying that I'm wrong, that shorting is very similar from MMTLP. Well, that's the problem with these sentences. I'm not exactly sure, Craig, what you're saying, except the shorting is identical. GTII shorting is identical to MMTLP shorting, with one big difference. In the case of GTII, it is one short. And similar to MMTLP, a lot of the shorting happened, when they created the trading in MMTLP, a lot of the shorting happened from lower prices on the way up, just like GTII. But a lot of the shorting in MMTLP came from Torchlight, higher prices down. One of the key differences with GTII is Kurt Kramer is such an idiot. He was shorting it from 5 cents, from 4 cents, from 6 cents, from 8 cents, thinking he could get it down to a penny. And so it's entirely, one of the big differences in the short position of GTII, it's entirely underwater for the shorts. The losses are massive. Well, Cryptic Trader, I like Tulsi Gabbard, and I know she's young, but my impressions about Anna Paulina Luna, I'm impressed, even though maybe I can still stand to be corrected on that. I'm not sure I like many of the other but to be fair, I don't like most of the male politicians either. So I would love it if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ran. Yeah, that's what I was saying, KYP. We all came from Africa. There are two different cases, Matthew Parker, but I don't know what you mean by cases. There's a case brought against Alpine by the NSCC and the DTCC. Because of that case, FINRA is, I think in 2019, expelled Alpine because of their deficiencies. Because of that case, we found out that the problem is a concentrated naked short, I'm using that word, in GTII. They're not long. There aren't enough shares to be long it. So the attorneys for Alpine objected, and they said that FINRA had no standing to regulate them because, I'm paraphrasing, I guess the argument goes there, a non-licensed broker or I don't know what the flimsy argument was. So it's been going through court. What was meant to happen was the judge was going to rule on those stays. What Alpine did, they had their attorney resign, or the attorney resigned of their own volition. Either way, I'm sure part of the reason for the extra 30 days is because Alpine can say we don't have an attorney. Poor, pitiful us. So anyway, the steps, as I'm not a lawyer, but the steps as I saw it were that the judge was going to rule against Alpine. FINRA was going to expel Alpine, and then the SEC would rule on the FINRA's expulsion of Alpine. It's not so much two different cases, but two or three different players. It's a process. It's inevitable. It will happen. They're going to run out of tricks, but it's slow moving. Barbados, the First Israel by Lionel Hutchinson. That's I'd be willing to read that book. Spiny Norman, my first ancestor came to America fleeing Cromwell's reconquest of Ireland because he was a royalist and a Catholic, and I'm neither. Sins of the father is bullshit. Yeah, Spiny, I agree. What would we argue about if we didn't have different pigment levels? What to eat? All right, APLM. Lordy. I'll look at it. Hold the line on GNS, please. You can buy more. Yeah, it's getting in a price range I'd agree with. The only race is the human race, Jeff. Except for the alien race. Oh. All right, 418. Is Counselor Diamond Hands here? Let's find Counselor Diamond Hands. He's a big supporter of GTII. Read on the torture of black kids during slavery. Oh my gosh, it's horrible. KYP, it's horrible. Just the breaking up of families. KYP, it breaks my heart. Don't you misunderstand me. It breaks my heart. All I was saying. No, I agree. The Irish came by choice. They were unfortunate and miserable, but they had boarded, well, for the most part, they boarded the boats by their own choice. The fact is, the British Navy grabbed Irishmen and forced them to be sailors. Yeah, that's Counselor Diamond Hands has a good point. Could be Monday. Um, all right, let's go to the prices. Hey, Wizard Gray Balls. Let's just go to the prices quickly. See how it closed. I think Monday. What Counselor is saying, I think he's saying, is you've got a couple of these things in this court case that point to essentially the 5th of April. The only problem is the SEC gave an extension of 30 days, but I don't think that means that the case has to be delayed 30 days. It's just in that framework for FINRA to make its decision. Then SEC just has to rubber stamp it. So, yeah. You know, KYP, the saddest thing is we're all capable of doing wrong. Unfortunately. We try not to, but we're all... All right, it closed at 188. So I was totally wrong. No, it didn't close at 188. Yeah, 188. So I was totally wrong. I thought it was going to go to $2. But for the entire time I've been on with you guys, I don't think it traded 100,000 shares. Can you believe that? I think when I came on, it was something like 937,000, something like that. And now it's 1,070,000. So maybe 100,000 shares it traded. Unbelievable. All manipulated. All manipulated. And created, closed up 15.4. And let me look at APLM. Let me put it here so at least for the next few times it shows up. $27 as high as 49. Wow, it's had a nice move. Let me just look at a chart I don't know anything about. I mean, to me, it's already moved, but that doesn't mean it's a bad time to buy it. Oh, wow. I don't see any chart. APLM? There ain't no... Did it just start trading, APLM, one day? This chart shows 1 day of trading. Is it an IPO? Let me get the news on APLM. So it's up 171% today. News. I don't know if it's a palm oil stock. I'm going to have to look into that. I don't know anything about it. As far as I can tell, it looks like it traded 1 day, which seems ridiculous. So I'll have to find out. Oh, DSAPC ticker change. All right. Bunny, I'll look it up. It's not easy to figure out quickly. I don't know, Brian, how many times they can keep postponing. I've been involved in court cases, and judges always seem to give the extension. Why? Because they want the parties to come solve the problem themselves. But I don't think they can keep asking for an extension. In this case, it seems like, I'm just giving you my opinion, but when Alpine's lawyer resigned, my judgment on that was that it was a ploy. So that when Alpine went into court, they said, hey, we don't have any attorney. We need time. And that's why I think there was given time. I don't know. I'm not an attorney. But as far as I know, a corporation cannot, pro se is the word. They cannot defend themselves pro se. They have to have an attorney. So I think it was gamemanship. But it can't keep on. It can't keep on. And all of these things will be moot when the price starts going up and real money is lost. When 300 and some odd million shares start going up by $5-10 a day, and you start, Ham put it out. I'm so bad at arithmetic anymore in my head, but Ham put it out that every $3 or a little over $3 is a billion. So every $3 up in the price is a billion in losses. It's going to start adding up, and that's what's going to kill these brokerage firms. Lawyers are going to catch up afterwards. Lawyers aren't brilliant thinkers. Lawyers are just apparatchiks. They're just perfunctonaries. They're just functionaries. They're not the thinkers here. And the thinkers, it's not even thinking will get into place. It's when the losses happen, the decision makers are going to buy in. All right. So I'll look up APLM. I want to look one more time at GTII 188. I want to look at, let's see where GNS, since you guys were asking, closed at 151. The low on the year is 30 cents. So there's still room, maybe to go down, but I would say the risk reward in GNS is starting to look attractive. It has been approved to dual list on Upstream. I would guess that any shorters out there would want to sell it off to tell you that that's not good news. But that's a step in the right direction. Oh, I didn't see on 329. They settled the all parties work diligently together to ensure a mutually beneficial agreement and have reached a settlement. The company does not believe that Itron is an unregistered broker-dealer, which it is, and has not violated federal securities laws, which it did, in my judgment, has otherwise committed no wrongdoing, under the convertible note. I'll have to pull that note and read it. The company has opted to make the remainder of monthly payments it owes on the $18 million convertible note in cash over time to ensure no further dilution of shares. Maybe no further dilution of real shares, but just watch what these unregistered broker-dealer, whatever the hell their name is, do with their compatriots. Well, that's good. There are no future installment related accelerations. So the CEO is learning that those installments are their mechanism. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the company is going to deliver 13 million shares to the criminals, and the criminals have been selling from $7. Just use those numbers. Let's call 7.5 down to 150. So even an idiot like myself, 750 minus 150 is $6, and it's 13 million shares. Oh my gosh. You're just putting $60 million in their pockets. But you got to start somewhere. I don't trust that settlement. But I've got to study it before I make a final judgment. But the thing is, you get in bad, it's like getting in a bag mortgage. You might have a great house, but the mortgage is going to screw you. Yeah, Jeff Kendrick. Amazing how little these CEOs know about the corruption. And Jeff, they don't, and they. What I think happens, Jeff, is CEOs don't raise money anymore. They don't do that hard work. But also these firms on Wall Street don't raise money anymore. They have no real clients. All they're doing is selling your stock at higher price. As soon as you walk in the door, hey, I'm interested to raise money, they start selling your stock. They lock you in. Because what's the risk? They sell it down. They know you're either going to do business with them or somebody else that'll do the same thing. So as soon as you show that you need money, they start selling it down. They collect that cash. They're selling shares that don't exist. They collect that cash. They sit across the table. Well, the XYZ Extraordinary Opportunities Fund LP is going to, the Alto Opportunity Master Fund is going to finance your needs, Mr. Hamilton. And we're the first tranche we're going to give you is $1 million. Oh, that's wonderful. All at once? All right, sign me up. I need $1 million. Well, they just sold the stock down. It's because the market is so corrupted. And basically, these criminals are stepping in place of what used to be investment banks. And it's just a tragedy. But the CEOs don't know how to raise money. There's no institutions investing in these stocks. And when these smiling faces come to them, they go, wow, problem solved. Well, and they go to their attorney. Attorney says, well, all right, because attorneys don't understand anything about the market. But if you have a toxic formula bottom line, if you don't know how many shares are outstanding this week, next month, a year from now, you've destroyed your company. You've just destroyed your company. You're a dead man. Dead man walking. Ian, aka Mr. Fino, has anyone gotten a response from investor relations at Finger? I've sent 15 plus emails, never heard of them. That'll change, Ian. Very soon that'll change. My experience with Finger is that they step very carefully. And I would imagine that they're not going to contact one shareholder at a time. But it's a good story, and it's going to change. That situation will change soon. Well, in fairness, KYP, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I always forget it. Oh, man. Walter Spoon. Uh, ah, I hope I'm not losing my memory. My memory, KYP. I just have the worst memory. I don't know what's going on with my brains. Is this how it begins? The end is near? God, I can almost think of his name. Walther. Anyway, can't think of him. But anyway, it was a British guy that stood up and campaigned to stop slavery. So anyway, maybe it's the stress, Tom. That could be it. It's scary. I have a friend, Tom, who um, drove his truck into his garage, and they took him to the hospital, and he was diagnosed with dementia. I guess he had been diagnosed with it or something. But anyway, he hadn't been taking his medication for quite a while. And whatever, I don't know what his medications were for, but whatever, he hadn't been willing to go to the hospital. Anyway, the collision with the garage didn't harm him that much. It was the fact that he wasn't taking his medication. He was forgetting to do it. Anyway, he died 3 days later. Pete Pangelos, LGIQ. There's a guy that owns 177,000 shares, I think. And I'll try to look it up and get the exact number. He was a former employee of LGIQ. He went on to another similar company. He's friendly with the company, but his two-year lockup period ended last week or this week, so he's been selling, and that's out of the blue. Best I can calculate with some friends, he's already sold all of his 177,000 shares, or he's very close to being finished. That's where the selling pressure came. It's just a guy dumping his shares. It'll end. He can only sell once. It's not systemic. And there's good news coming on LGIQ. Nothing's changed. Hey, Vegeta D. Luffy, thank you. Thank you, William, for your persistence. I've been listening quietly since the U3. Well, welcome. And thank you for forgiving me any of my trespasses. I've listened to Thomas Sowell quite a bit. I don't know the name Walter Williams, but I've listened. Initially, I listened with skepticism, but now I enjoy listening to Thomas Sowell. Wilberforce, that's it. That's the name, Wilberforce. Wilberforce. Wilberforce is the name. And it's just the cruelty of human beings is just to each other. All right, Diego, I wonder what other bullshit the SEC, FINRA, and the DTCC is going to come up with to prevent the crooks to buy back. Will they F us again? Well, look, to be clear, it's not the job of the CEO or even the system to create a short squeeze. That's not their job. But having said that, as they say, it's not their job either to protect the shorts. And at its just most basic case, what the criminals have done is flooded the market with counterfeit shares. So they've increased the supply, holding down the price. More supply, same demand, the price goes down. Now, we've increased demand as the story's gotten out, but the supply has increased more than the increased demand. But at its core, that's a marketplace. It's all crooked and criminal, sure, but it's still a marketplace. So what happened in MMTLP, and what I think will not happen in GTII, is because of circumstances, suddenly the supply-demand ratio gets turned on its head, because all at once, all of that stock has to be bought back at one time. All that. For in the case of GTI, 2.5 years, they've just flooded the market with supply. It doesn't bother Gary Gensler. Doesn't bother him at all. But it's kept the price down. In the case of GTII and a buy-in, all at once, all of that stock the concentrated buying is going to be in the span of 2 days, 2 weeks, a month. All at once, it's going to be demand to buy is going to outstrip supply. And the supply is going to disappear. So can FINRA stop trading and interfere with that? I don't think they will. But here's the two arguments you're going to hear. And they make me mad, both of them. One argument is we had to stop the markets because Goldman Sachs was going to collapse and it's too big to fail. What the hell do we need Goldman Sachs for? What service does Goldman Sachs provide in your life? Morgan Stanley issues the welfare cards. They get a click off of that. Anyway, so the one argument is we had to save the system. So we're going to screw the public and protect Blankenfein. I forget his name, the CEO of Goldman Sachs. Blankenfein? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yet another CEO that we're going to protect. Or Jamie Dimon over at JP Morgan. We're going to protect that because the system's, we have to protect it. The other argument you're going to hear, these were just meme stocks. These were just people with nothing better to do piling in, and the buying overwhelmed, and the systems were behind, the sophisticated systems at Citadel, the regulatory systems were behind. You're going to hear all that crap. But bottom line, they've been distorting supply and demand for so long that when supply and demand works against them, they're going to go crying home to mommy. Well, Ralph Fahn, I don't know. Why would you think CRTD would change its name to Vocal, Ralph? I mean, if you go to create its website, Ralph, which is something that's pretty easy to do. You can do it on your phone, on your computer, on your iPad. You go to create its website. We're building the home base for creators. The website is created.com. CREATD.com. So you go there, Ralph. You can scroll down. You can read it. We empower creators and brands through technology. Creator first brands. They have a bunch of brands. They have Created Ventures, a bunch of brands. But then, and they have the OG collection, which they're distributing. But then you go to their flagship. Well, they've changed this around a little bit. But you go to their flagship. I have to sign in. I don't have an account. But you go to their flagship platform. You know what it's called, Ralph? This is their flagship platform. Vocal. So I don't know. Why did they change their name? I don't know. Since they're distributing OG collection, they're going to distribute some of their other divisions, and their core business is a platform which provides storytelling tools, engaged communities for creators, and vocal for brands. And I'm trying to find, they have some millions of users. I can't remember, and I can't find it quickly. But vocal is the source of their users and their revenue. So why would they change the name from created to vocal? I don't know, Ralph. I'm not that imaginative. I can't figure it. I can't figure it out. But there is, and I can't find it now, there is another company that has a similar name to Created, or a website, which has an ED on the end of it. So the word is Create, CREATD.com. There's another similar that's CREATED. I don't know if it's .com or not, and I don't want to look it up. Maybe I will. Yeah, there's a company called Created. You see that? Life happens around a drink. See the website? Created.co. There's a company there under Created. I think there's even another one under .com. Let me just check. No, that's actually available for purchase. So anyway, I don't know, Ralph. I think the company is named Created. They had to misspell Created because other people have ahead of them have used the word created in their corporate titles. The company is an agglomeration of many different applications for creators. The company is distributing the OG collection to shareholders as a blockchain dividend. They have several other divisions which are listed on their website. Yeah, here it is. Their companies, our companies. Vocal, number one, Vocal. Vocal is a platform, storytelling, already talked about that. They have Vocal for brands. They have the OG gallery, Ralph. They have Created Ventures. What is Created Ventures? But they have it. And there's more. Let me just click on Created Ventures. Maybe that's where. All right, Created Ventures is our e-commerce portfolio, including Basis, Brave, Camp, and Dune. I don't know if that'll come up. But there's 4 separate brand names under Created Ventures. they're going to distribute one or all of those as special dividends to shareholders as the year goes on. So Ralph, I'm just not creative myself enough to figure out why, if you're going to distribute the created venture either all at once or in part, you're distributing OG Gallery and you're hanging on to Vocal. That's going to be your focus. That's your source of revenue. That's where your growth is going to come from. I can't figure out, Ralph, why they would change their name from create their symbol and their name from created to Vocal. I'm just not smart enough to figure that out. But I'll try to get an answer for why they would change their name to Vocal. T-Bone, come May, if nothing happens with GTII, I'm moving on from it. Well, T-Bone, that makes perfect sense, but it's arbitrary. I would suggest to you that you should get out before May, because a lot of people might feel that way in May. I think you should just get out if you're sick of it. Just get out now. Of all the stocks I've presented to you, CRTD is washed out, but that could be at 15 cents. You're going to get a distribution of the OG collection worth at least 10 cents a share, which could be worth 7 or 10 times that. So that's one. It's already washed out. I think Logic, which is at 30 some cents right now, it could easily trade at $1.50 over the next weeks or month or two. Well, that's a nice move. That's 5x. You can get into something like that. I think GoLogic, interestingly enough, I think could be 10x, but it's going to take a year. I don't know if you have the patience for it. But from around $2, that could go to $25 a share. There's a lot of slips and mixes from cup and lip, but there's other stories out there. So if you're sick of GTII, I take the opportunity while this whole group is here, focused on it. Nobody here is selling. A lot of people are buying. Just take that opportunity that there's interest, that there's volume. Get out. Get out at $2, $1.80. Go into something more exciting, more of interest to you. There are going to be some other stocks that to focus on. I would suggest to you, you could almost buy, I don't know if it's true anymore, but you could buy 1.5 shares of Finger for every share of GTII, and I think that has a great future. So there's plenty of stocks to buy. Get out of GTII. If you're tired of it, you're saying if it doesn't do anything by May, you're going to get out now. Because if you wait till May, there's enough people out here that feel the same way. If there's not good news, you're not going to get these prices in May. So you have a decision to face. Do I get out at $1.80? Go into a similar story. Remember, your goal is to make money. Do you have to make money in GTII? Or could it be LGIQ? Or could it be CRTD? Could it be an oil and gas stock? Could it be, I don't know, I'm having a hard time in my, could it be GoLogic? But could if you can make similar rates of return in other stocks, make your money there. You don't have to make it in GTII. I'm not recommending getting out of GTII because as Ham, Short Killer puts it, it's the single best setup he has seen in almost 25 years. Single best setup. I'll just go through it with you again. One trap short. One. They sold the stock on the way up, not the way down. Even with Lou's and COSM's recommendation, other people, I'll leave their name out, to move from GTI to COSM because it's so much better. Cosmo. The benefit is 125 million more shares have been created out of thin air. We know it's 300, maybe 350 million. It might be 500 million. We just don't know the X number. It could be less, but there's a massive amount of shares that don't exist that have been sold. And because it's only one short, he sold it from lower prices upward. He hasn't covered. He can't cover without destroying himself. Also, we know that Alpine took over the accounts. We know that Alpine is under investigation. And Alpine very soon could be shut down. We know that 1-800 law firm is coming. We know the Trento mine very likely could be coming. We know that West Christian is in there studying spoofing and going after discovery. We know that. We know the FBI is after the criminals that sold GTII. I don't know. Get out of it. It's too many things lined up that we know. We should get out of it because the criminals just keep counterfeiting shares. The criminals have been counterfeiting shares in GTII for 2.5 years. They do it in every other over-the-counter stock. If you don't like that, you got to you got to invest somewhere else. My recommendation, get out of the United States stock market entirely. My understanding right now, there's only 2 stocks in the S&P holding up the market. It used to be 6. It's only 2 now. Get out of the markets. Just get out of them. The United States stock markets are complete fraud. But if you want to take advantage of a short squeeze setup, there's no better one than GTII. And if and when the margin call turns into a buy-in, you're going to see 350 million, or it's 100 million, or it's 50 million. Maybe it's just 50 million. 50 million shares being bought without any selling from the criminals is going to drive this stock to nosebleed levels. If they buy back 25 million shares without any selling going on, it's going to skyrocket. But get out of it. You don't want to wait. May comes in 30 days. I'm telling you, the market is a discounting system. If you wait, and you're right, I don't know if you're right, but if you're right that your anticipation with this arbitrary deadline is nothing's going to happen, maybe things will. Other people are making that decision. And you're better off just while your gut says, I hate this, just get out. Go into some of these other stocks. You can take the money. You can take $1.80 right now. And in my judgment, you can put it all into GoLogic, 1 for 1. How many ever shares you have of GTII? I'm not recommending this because I believe GTII is the best short squeeze setup, and I think it's on the verge of exploding to the upside. I think you're going to see life-changing wealth created by GTII. Maybe it'll be vocaled by GTII. Life-changing wealth. The kind of wealth you'll tell your grandchildren about. Whether you're white or black or Jewish or Native American, whatever our background. What'll even it all up for all of us is we're all in this stock, and this stock can create generational wealth potentially for investors. Does it have to? Maybe not. But it's all risk reward. But anyway, you can take $1.80 right now, tomorrow, of GTII. Go buy, just put limit orders in for GoLogic. I think GoLogic in a year and a half, you'll make 10x on your money. You'll turn $1.80 into $18 in GoLogic. And I think it's, absent a meteor hitting Earth, it's as sure a thing as you can find in the stock market, which isn't sure. But go do that. Stop the pain of being in GTII. Now, just to be clear, I think GTII can go to 1800. So $1.80 in GTII can go to $18. It can go to $180. It can go to $1,800 a share. But I know waiting is painful. It sucks. And the shorts just keep selling. That's a sign of strength, maybe. To me, it's a sign of weakness. Alpine is going to be crushed. The FBI's after whoever stiffed Westpac. They're not going to stop. West Christian is after the Kramers and the rest, and Alpine. The NSCC is after Alpine. FINRA wants to expel Alpine. Oh, but we got to wait another month. I just can't do it. Well, don't do it. Don't wait another month. Get out. Get out. Get out. It's like waiting on Godot. Stop waiting on Godot. The reason to be in GTII is you're risking $1.80, and I think it's less than that, but literally, if you buy it at $1.80 or if you hold it here, you're risking $1.80. In the beginning of a squeeze. I just told you GoLogic. I think it's going to go up 10x over the next year, and I think it's a fantastic story. But I just told you it's going to take a year. I think in the minute the buy-in happens of GTII, it'll be at $18 in the minute. But we've been waiting, and unfortunately, a lot of you've been waiting since September, October, November, December. It's a long, long time. I mean, in a lifetime, 3 or 4 months is a terribly long time. But all you've seen is counterfeiting, fraud, manipulation of the market. And to you, that shows up in the price of the stock. And as much as we want to correct what we see with our eyes and what we feel in our gut by our knowledge that it's one idiot trap short, they're down $350 million. Alpine's going under. West Christian is suing them, and he won't quit. The FBI's after them. The the National Security Corporation and the DTCC is after them. They're making distributions by April 15th of a registered stock. It won't be all at once. Lou wasn't ready to wait, and neither were the people from Seek Cosmo. But GTII's rally was happening because of the distribution of the warrants as a special dividend. It was causing a short squeeze in November. It'll happen. It'll happen. But hey, if it doesn't work by May, get out, move on. But I'm telling you, if you wait and you're right, the stock will be lower. I'll tell you something else. In May, GoLogic won't be $1.80. You can swap right now, get out, save yourself all the pain of waiting. Just put it in GoLogic. Forget about it. In a year, you'll have $18 a share in GoLogic. Put it in Logic. In the next 60 days, you'll make 5x on your, well, I don't know specifically 60 days, but in the next 2 or 3 months or so, it'll be $1.60, $2.50. By the end of the year, it could make 10x on your money. Put it in, if you buy CRTD right now and you qualify for that distribution, the distribution itself could be worth $1 a share, the OG collection. Based on a press release. I'm not making the number up. Based on a press release. 7 to 10 times what it's worth now, which is 10 cents a share. So, actually, it's about 11 or 12 cents a share, but just to be conservative. So, just get out. You don't like it? Get out. There's other alternatives. There's HNS. I don't know anything about it. There's MULN. I don't know anything about it. There's some other companies out there. So don't diamond hands GTII. If you're sick of it, just get out. I think it'll be a mistake because if you're playing these stocks for short squeezes, if you're playing them, look at GNS. They hired an attorney, they settled with the criminals. Look at HPIL. They hired an attorney, settled with the criminals. Look at COSM. They had a big short squeeze going. They settled with it. They did a flow through transaction. The smiling faces flow through money to the shorts. Killed the squeeze. You don't know with all these other short squeezes that you have. You don't know the metal, METTLE, the metal of the CEOs and their stomach for the fight or their judgment. And I have great sympathy for them. These slicksters come in and they could slick them out of their underwear. But you don't know. In the case of GTII, you know that GTII turned down offers to sell stock to the criminals and make GTII tens of millions of dollars, maybe more. And GTII turned every single one of those offers down. GTII is not going to reverse split. They're not going to do a toxic deal. And they're going to keep delivering blockchain and other dividends as other distributions as special dividends that are going to call out the system. They're not going to quit. Everything that these criminals are selling, 350 million shares, have to be bought back. But if it's not done by May, by all means, get out. But I would suggest, if your mind is telling you to get out in May, get out now. There's no better time to get out than while there's no selling, there's no real selling. None of this group is selling. You might want to sell. Now's the time to sell. This group is buying. Now is the time to sell. Because if you're right, when all of this group says, oh my gosh, I'm getting out in a panic, just like they did when COSM came along. I'm not picking on them. It was a better deal, much better deal. Everyone panicked out of GTI. It went down. Don't wait till that panic. If your gut is telling you it's going down, get out now. Get out when it rallies to 230 again. I think it's going to go to 275, $3 in the short term. Get out then as there's demand. Just take your money. You don't have to tell us about it. You don't have to say in May, if nothing's happened, I'm getting out. Just get out. While the rest of us are still excited, we're buying, we still think there's hope, and you're right, just get out. Don't tell us about it, just get out. There's other stocks. Hey, Matt K. I know the shorts are killing us. I know. I'm sick. Yeah, I need a big blackboard and a whiteboard or blackboard, one of them, and just be able to draw. When the weak panic, it's time to grow. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Yeah, Frank, I think, look, there's no guarantees. But, hey, lucky boy, I love you. But I got to tell you, the one thing Kurt Kramer's been trying to do is to drive this stock down like he drove down HPIL. He called in to settle up, or had Charlie do it. He would love lawyers to make a settlement. Hey, we'll give up our warrants, and he'd love all that. But he's not going to get it this time. He pissed off the wrong group of executives, men and women. And we're on the verge of the 1-800 law firm deal. I'd love it to happen. Is there part of me saying that why is it taking so long? Maybe they're not going to do it. Sure, there's part of me that wonders. But I would love that to come through next week. All of a sudden, Kurt Kramer can't sell GTII down to a penny. And guess what? His criminal friends are going to recognize it. It's already the shittiest, sorry for my word, it's already the worst short trade in the history of mankind. But once it's evident that, I don't know what the law firm makes it worth, 100 million in revenue, 30 million in income. If you give 2x, 3x on the revenue, repeating revenue, it's $1 a share. Easily. Could be more. But $1 a share means that Kurt Kramer cannot short the stock back down to a penny. That's all his goal is. It's what he does. It's all he does. It's what he does to companies. So 1-800 is going to be a game changer. Game changer. Because the criminals will recognize they can't short it to oblivion. And guess what? It's going to be a company full of attorneys. Okay, so that's one thing. Secondly, Trento Mines could come in like a thunderclap. %40 of $30 to $40 billion. 15 to 20 million. 15 billion, I'm sorry. $15 billion of assets coming on the books of GTII if it happens. I have no idea how many shares, but remember the shares are restricted and they're given back to GTII when the company launches as its own standalone company. 15 billion. I understand they might be buying more of the company than just 40%. Billion with a B. If that happens, it hasn't happened yet, and so it's never going to happen, and we're going to get effed again, and the market is just against us. Well, yeah, it might not happen. It might not happen. But you're looking here to change your financial situation. If you know a better idea, do it. But if the Trento mine comes in, overnight, not only does Kurt Kramer no longer have the ability, or his minions or his associates have the ability to destroy the stock downward to $1 or to a penny, all of a sudden the book value of the company, I don't know how many shares to say will be outstanding. Let's just instead of using 400 million or 500 million, let's say they added so many restricted shares and it tied it up and it was 1 billion shares. I don't think it'll be anywhere close to that. I think it'll be 400 million. But let's just say it's 1 billion just for the hell of it. And let's say they only buy 40% of Trento Mines, not 60 or 80%. Let's just say they buy 40%. And let's say that 40% is the mid-range, not 20 million, not 40 million. Let's billion, call it 30 billion as the value. Take 40% of that. It's $12 billion. Take 1 billion shares, divide it out. I'm not good at arithmetic. It's $12 a share. $12 a share. How does Kurt Kramer short that? How does he short that? How does he get out of that box? But if it doesn't happen by May, get out. Get out. It doesn't happen by May. Just get out. But if the Trento mine deal comes in, I actually think the value per share is going to be closer to $25 minimum per share, just because of that deal. How do the shorts cover then? I don't know, but if it doesn't happen by May, get out, get out. Then you've got the FBI after the son of a bee that stiffed Westpac for $4 million in losses. FBI's not going to quit. Those are felonies. And FBI down in the heart of the FBI is not corrupt. Up at the top, it's been corrupted, but down in the heart of it, it's not corrupt. They're going to go get them. You've got the fact that the only prime broker that'll take these orders is going to go out of business. I don't know. I think the risk reward is there. Other than T-Bone. All right, Samo. How many times they got until now? 20 or 30? Fritz Flappy Ears. The Kramers get endless extensions. Have you ever been in a lawsuit, Fritz Flappy Ears? The legal process is really slow. I think it's on purpose. They've gotten a lot of extensions. It's no question. They got another one. It's not the Kramers, it's Alpine. Got another one. But at some point, it stops. I think it stops very soon, even before the 30 days are up. I agree with Counselor Diamond Hands. This whole rock and roll band could start on Monday or Tuesday next week. So I think we're very close to it happening. But am I going to say it's going to happen before May? No, it could take until May. No, Alpine. They remember when you're with lawyers and you're using whatever the statutory laws are, they want to make sure that the case doesn't get appealed. The judge wants to make sure she honored every single proper requirement so that there's not a further appeal, and if there is an appeal, that they don't win. So it's just set up to take time. Kryptonian, as far as I hear, the audit is 100% on time. But tomorrow is tomorrow the 1st? No, it's not tomorrow, is it? I guess Friday is the 1st. Anyway, the 1st is almost here, and since there's no announcement, I would personally be prepared that there's going to be a little bit of delay. Then I would ask yourself, Kryptonian, because you're doing the restricted shares, because maybe you're working on Trento, maybe there's reasons to schedule this. I don't know. And then you've got Wes. I don't know. But yes, the information that I have is the audit is perfectly on time. Saturday is the 1st. Okay. I don't know why you listen to me. I get these basic things all wrong. Hey, Ace in the hole. April's the month of new beginnings. Perfect time to squeeze. Yes, and it's the month of tulips. And tulips squeezed years ago. So, that's a good optimistic thing. I think it's a good time for the squeeze. And if my granny had wheels, she'd be a wagon. If your granny had wheels, your grandfather would be driving her home. New month, new money. What are the restrictions, Scott Chocolate, on the 1 for 10 split? I don't know, but this is what I think it'll be. And I'm not making it up in the sense that we already did it, we being the whole company. It's not me. But in about April of 2 years ago, the company issued a warrant at $2.75. Restricted. It was a special dividend. It was restricted to people that actually owned the shares. And I don't remember how many shares were rumored to be out at that time, but it was a 10 for 1. I think it was a 10 for 1. I'm certain it was a 10 for 1. And to my memory, about 3.5 million warrants were created. And the rumors were that there was a massive short position at the time, 125 million, 150 million. But anyway, I think the warrants were, matched the float. So anyway, in my account, I received a warrant, and I got bloop bloop notification, and open the notification. You just received 1 warrant for every 10 shares of the stock in your account that trades at 275. So hey, great, I got it. The company put on its website, in order to qualify, to make sure you get the warrant, you have to fill out this form, and you have to notify your broker-dealer to transfer that warrant to Liberty Stock Transfer. So I got on it. It took me 3 or 4 5, 6 phone calls to my brokerage firm. And I finally pulled, do you know who I am? No, I didn't do that. But I said, look, I understand. I explained. I was nice, but I explained that I really understood why they weren't doing it. And you know what? They decided to give me my warrants. So my warrants, because the brokerage firm, just to go through it in case you don't understand it, the brokerage firm at DTCC might have 100,000 warrants. But on their books, there might be 1.5 million warrants. So they only have so many of the legitimate warrants to dole out to their customers. Now, what Lou and another guy I'm not going to mention did in November is they came in and said, this is taking too long. Cosmo is much better. I'm willing to say he didn't know what he was doing. And he's been right on a lot of other things. But what I'm not willing to say is that it was the right thing to do. And it wasn't right to SHIT on GTII because the squeeze was working. Fidelity was paying 1,000% for real shares, for example. So anyway, your brokerage firm has 1.5 million warrants in its system, but it only has 100,000 that it can dole out. Well, they go out and they start buying, and that's what was happening with GTII. Well, anyway, the restriction, to answer your question, the restriction was as simple as we're going to give these warrants to real shares. And the way we're going to make sure of that is it has to be shares issued in real name at Liberty Stock Transfer. Not in street name, in the name of the client. And so we had a form. We had to basically open the account at Liberty Stock Transfer. Very simple, just fill out the form. And then we had to ask the brokerage firm to deliver our dividend, our warrants as dividend there. Now, the 275 was the strike price. So the squeeze didn't come right away because Wall Street pretended that they had no value. But as the stock went to 7 and 8, all of a sudden there was this massive pressure, and it was working. Mark my words, it was working. And then some guys came in and said, you know what, let's go somewhere else, just as it was working. Well, you can't prove if I'm right or wrong because that's life. It's not a laboratory. You can't do the experiment again. But what I think the restriction on the restricted shares will be is identical. Wall Street will give you restricted shares in your account. They'll do it. That's what they do. It's all they do. They just deliver electronic shares, whether they're real or not? Well, the restriction, in my judgment, is going to be that you have to fill out that piece of paperwork. You have to open your account at Liberty Stock Transfer, as simple as a form you email. And you're going to have to call your brokerage firm and say, deliver my restricted shares to Liberty Stock Transfer. And that'll start causing a squeeze. The stock will be going up. Somebody will come that you trust and say, you know what, GTII isn't doing the right thing. Some sort of scam here. There's something wrong. Let's go to a different stock. You're going to have to fight that urge because the squeeze isn't going to happen all at once. It's going to take a while to build up. Water boils slowly and slowly and slowly. And in every Star Trek movie I ever saw, the lithium core was going to, Captain, I can't hold on much longer. Our lithium core is whatever it does. Scotty, give it all we got. I'm giving it warp 4-1. Well, it always seemed like it took a long time for that lithium core to explode because it just took a while to build up the pressure and the heat. And what happened in November is we took it out of warp drive and we went back to whatever they called the thing. But that's what I'm saying. The pressure takes a little time to build up, but it will. And I think the restriction on the restricted shares will be the company will only issue real restricted shares to people who have real shares. How will they do it? They'll ask you to deliver your shares, your restricted shares, which your brokerage firm is going to fill your account with pretty electronic entries. They're going to ask you to deliver those to Liberty Stock Transfer to prove it. That's what I think the restriction will be. But we'll find out. I don't know the definite terms. Ace is the place. No, Tom. I think if it's you guys, you poor pitiful souls. It's really been difficult. But I think if it starts to run, I don't know what number to pick. Certainly, it could be 9, could be 15, could be 20, but it might be as low as 750. But when it runs, I think, let me put it this way. Anything that makes this stock $15, I think makes it $50. So I probably will wait through the dividend, but I'm not going to wait just for 10% dividend. No. As Ace just pointed out, I think any decision should be based on price. If you're paid enough money by selling the stock that equates to the value you expected to get from the dividend, why not sell? As long as it also matches your preset ideas of how high the stock could go. But having said all that, I think the stock, there's going to be some selling in the 5, 6, 7 range. There's always the risk that the markets get closed or something happens. Something happens. So just remember to use money management and take some money off the table, Hopefully this gets the wheel. All this BS yesterday was just a stay up. Yes, Scott, I agree with you. Ace, I would play your video now, but you might get mad at me. No, actually, I gotta run soon. Probably you would hope. No, Shane Jansen, to be truthful, I don't know if there's a restriction because you live in Canada, but two things in answer to you. One is the account is very easy to open at Liberty Stock Transfer because they're cooperating. But if you're not able to, Shane, the whole point is to catch the system out, having to basically have a run on the bank for real shares all at once. Yours don't have to be the ones that do it. We don't know. We're going to try to get everybody to do it, but it's highly unlikely that it's going to require 100% participation, moving shares over. The warrants were working with, to my memory, I don't know, it was like 20, 30% actually, maybe less than that, actually got exercised. And it was causing trouble. So my point is, Shane, you don't need them all. Yours don't have to get in there for you to benefit. I think we go Sizzler. What do I like on my pizza? I know one thing I don't like, onions. I don't like onions. I don't like garlic. And other than that, I don't like truffle oil either. But other than that, I'm pretty happy. I think in New York City, if you can get one of those just plain slices of pizza, there's nothing better. Let me see what Ace said back here. Oh, pineapples. I don't know. I had a girlfriend. Really, I did. And she used to like to get pizza, ham and pineapple. And I would say, no, I want green peppers, mushroom, and, maybe olives. And so we would do half and half. All right, guys. I'm thinking that I might call. It's 5:30. I might call it here because I've got to walk my dog and I've got some things to do tonight. What I'm excited about my new improved internet connection. So I might try to do a video tonight highlighting maybe Ace or somebody. I would look forward soon to improving my system. Maybe Ace and I can do something together as an example. But listen to Ace. He has some lives. Listen to Counselor Diamond Hands. Listen to Avid. Ham will be back. There's plenty of people. Yeah, people are buying the GTII dip. Yeah, Ace is the place for the technical helpful man. I don't know how that. Ace, there was some casino movie I was watching last week. I can't remember, but anyway, it was good. So, and Arca. Yeah, that's the other one. Arca does a really good job. He does all this spot. Now, the stock could move to 1 spot 80, and then it counts to 1 spot 9. And then he talks about fractals. And by the time he's doing all that, I'm like, what? But his analysis is really good. His analysis is really good, Safe Pop Culture. But all right, it's 5:34. I'll wait a minute here to see. Otherwise, I think today was not destructive to the story technically. And I think the fundamental story is still there. It's a pain, and it is painful. I agree. And we'll get through it. Tell you what, once we get through one of these, we're gonna be a force of nature on Wall Street. We could be a force of nature. We could be a force for good. We could start offering plain vanilla offerings to companies, and we could become a miniature institution that helps companies and it helps us, and we could feel good about ourselves, and we could put the American dream back on the map. I like that Gary Gensler dartboard. I have a feeling it'll be a new SEC chairman before we get on TV. I know MMTLP could settle good too, M. Casey. So anyway, KYP, I really liked our conversation. I think it made some people uncomfortable, but I think it's great that you have, such an expansive understanding of history, and you tolerate individuals as opposed to... Anyway, I enjoyed our conversation, KYP. And I'd love to go to Jamaica again. Get ham on it. Ham on it. Ham. Get ham. Get... I wonder if you could get short ham. Ham short killer. Oh, for the truck, yeah. We could do it for the truck. Oh, the dartboard for the truck. That would be very interesting. Maybe a video. That'd be very interesting. Big Alabama, that would be ham, cheese, and mustard. All right. Well, I'm going to go because I'll do better tomorrow. Did my best today. You know, it's like maybe I'll save that one that'll be my quote for tomorrow. I'll put it up tomorrow. I might have already used it, but it's a good one. All right. I wish everybody the best. And we're $9.99. Are you out of your mind? We're gonna win here, in my judgment. So peace to everyone. Thank you very much. Pop culture. Thank you guys. Bye.